The city of Cochabamba is surrounded by the Andes Mountains. Bolivia is one of the poorest countries in Latin America. 3/4 of the population live below the poverty line. Earning a living is particularly tough for women. At a local market for day laborers, laundry women wait patiently for work. Women in Bolivia mostly do simple jobs and earn less than half as much as men.
We think it's the man who decides, and we have to submit to what the men say. Especially women with little education think that.
There's a lot of macho thinking. The woman is seen as being the man's property, and so she is very poorly treated. She may be beaten or sexually abused, and it's destroying our society.
The men don't treat us well. There are arguments, and then they mistreat us, either with physical violence or psychological abuse.
The majority of Bolivians belong to the indigenous population. The submission of women is a long-standing tradition, and one that many men don't want to give up. Violence against women is commonplace. The women's shelter in the state of Santa Cruz deals with several thousand cases every year. This woman is hiding from her husband. The director of the shelter tells us she has suffered a lot of violence. She says her husband beat her repeatedly and threatened to kill her. He also raped their daughter repeatedly over many years. Finally, she fled.
I have suffered so much from this man. How could he do that to his own daughter? His own daughter.
Machismo is still the main enemy, reads this headline, and reports on violence that sometimes ends in murder. According to a UN study, 1 in every 3 women in Bolivia suffers physical abuse from her partner. 1 in every 10, sexual abuse. The level of violence against women in Bolivia is the second highest in all of South America, after Peru. The organization Oficina Jurídica de la Mujer represents victims of violence in court. Julieta Montaño is its director. She says Bolivia does have enough laws that protect the rights of women, but the problem is the abusers rarely have much to fear.
Of all the things that are laid down by law, less than 10% are actually applied. It's only on paper. And there's no interest among politicians in promoting the rights of women.
That's something Miriam Suarez and her co-workers from the women's shelter are no longer willing to accept. Outside the city hall in Santa Cruz, they're demonstrating against violence and for a greater say for women in politics. The demonstrators say the Bolivian government has promised time and time again to improve women's rights, but they say nothing ever changes.
Today we are calling for equality between men and women in Bolivia. We are no longer willing to wait for the goodwill of politicians. We will fight for our rights. We won't be quiet.
They organize protests and educational campaigns. They believe things will only change if they stand up and fight, for the sake of the next generation, if not their own.